Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Dylan.
We've been wanting to go. July is a great time to go there.
I would like
Yeah,
to.
so the Elks
That's
Club.
me, I did that.
After the.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, you bring
I was
me
gonna show you first, make sure
Yeah.
you know what.
It's a hoot.
I'm allowed to play pickles at that house, so if I can't play pickles here.
I'm just gonna, sorry, just rolling here. I would like to thank everybody for joining us for the May 12th City of Idaho Springs regular work session. We're gonna get kicked off here on time at 5:30. We're gonna start off with the branding update, and I have to say, this is a pretty exhaustive report. Lots and lots and lots of information. Sadie, I'll let you kick it off.
But I requested that you be social selfie and celebrate anything of Travis.
Can we role play for you about our target users for you?
Outside the demographic range.
Just a little bit, Steve, just a little bit. You're adjacent to it. Dylan's helping me get up here as presenter so I can share my screen with you guys. Perfect. So I guess I first want to say this has been a long process. So this is an exhaustive document to read through, the strategy especially. We wanted to give you all of the information. We aren't going to go line by line through all of this. We're going to do a high level summary on a lot of this information. I think if you have specific questions, please stop us. But this has been a long process that the Business Community and Promotion Board has gone through. We have worked through survey, workshops, stakeholder meetings, community feedback sessions. We've presented this before the Business and Community Promotion Board several times. It's also been to a couple of the community meetings. So a lot of the information gathered here has kind of gone through an intensive process to get us through. A little bit of the timeline of what we went through is in your packet. But really, I want to kind of go through some important points. The brand strategy, the bulk of this document, really kind of think of it as kind of the guideposts to how to market, how to talk to, how to strategize, and how to guide the process of Idaho Springs as a brand. Why does Idaho Springs need a brand? Well, Idaho Springs needs a brand because we want to be able to represent who we are to both residents, businesses, as well as potential visitors, people that are already here, people that we want to come here. We need to be able to talk to them in a specific way and have a strategy on how we talk to them, as well as what we might look like as a brand. Yeah.
When I think of a brand, you see, you want the people you want the brand. So you want the people you want to want. So what you're projecting, the whole image that's in here is for this demographic of people you want to be.
Yeah. Another thing that's in there, the strategy isn't just what we see, it's what's experienced. It's how the tone of voice is. It's how the marketing wording is laid out. It's not just, a pretty logo and a picture. It's really the story that goes behind it. And the strategy document really will be kind of our guiding principles moving forward when it comes to any kind of marketing campaigns, strategy, advertising that we're doing. So that's kind of why it's so extensive. And a little bit of it is repetitive. There's a logic and a rhyme to reason to that. The board.
She went through this to 2 hours, word by word. It does get repetitive, but there's a reason for it, which we'll explain, because there's all these guardrails that come in to make sure it doesn't go sideways.
Yeah, it really is so important to talk about why we're doing what we're doing. It gives us a full package instead of just let's stick a logo on it and start advertising, come visit Idaho Springs. I don't want to spend the taxpayer dollar willy-nilly. I want to make sure we're being very strategic about who we're talking to, how we're talking to them, and why. And that's what this document does. So the brand story, important points about this that are really important. 30 minutes from Denver. We're an authentic mountain town. We're history, adventure. We're a tight-knit community. A lot of things that came up in our talks was rooted in discovery. really just about innovation and discovery, heritage, rugged outdoor, authentic, down to earth was really important, that we're this very approachable, authentic, without the crowds, new trails. So this kind of tells you a little bit about the story that we're going to be telling.
Only 30 minutes from then.
Only 30 minutes from Denver. If you
This is really good.
Thank you. We've worked really hard on this and we're really excited to share this with you guys. So this is the mission statement. Now, this is the mission statement from the advertising perspective. This is the mission statement from a marketing standpoint. Now, not necessarily like a town adoptable mission statement necessarily. It could be. However, this is really the mission statement of who we are as a visit, as a destination, as we know we're kind of heading in that direction. Idaho Springs offers a unique blend of history, nature, and adventure, creating an experience that welcomes visitors, residents, and businesses alike. By preserving our heritage while embracing new opportunities, we provide dynamic and authentic mountain town where people can explore, connect, and return time and time again. What's important here is that this isn't just about attracting visitors. This is also about attracting businesses to our community and residents to our community. Soon, we're going to have a whole set of new lodging or new housing available. We want to also be attracting the right residents, the people we know are going to fit, that want to be a part of this community. This is a tight-knit community, and this brand will speak to all.
I say there's good businesses, are good places for good residents to work.
So this is an important part of that mission statement for us. Vision is very similar in a lot of ways, but really the vision comes from this is that where we're seeing what are you feeling when you're talking about who we are. So we stand apart as a destination where history, nature, and community come together. So rooted, again, coming in that rooted in discovery, rooted in our rich mining heritage, natural landscapes, connection is really important, all of this, preserving the past while embracing the future, dynamic, inspires visitors, engaging, experience-based. So those are kind of, you'll hear a lot of key themes as we start to go through these things, which kind of starts to lead us into the story that we're telling. This is our purpose. Again, there's that experience word again, all who live, visit, and work here. Balancing surroundings with historic character, inviting and memorable destination, encourages people to return, discover, and engage with everything our town has to offer. These are our values. Now, values, there were so many values. I think the mayor would remember from our workshop. We did this amazing workshop where we took what is Idaho Springs? What does it embody? Who are we? And there were so many words up there, but what was interesting is when we distilled that down, we got to these 6: authentic, heritage, resilient, adventure, community, and balance. So these values will kind of be like guideposts. I'll be running a lot of things through this filter. Is it authentic? Does it represent heritage? Does it have adventure? Is it good for the community? These are good ways to run marketing campaigns through values to make sure we're not going off on tangents that aren't in alignment with their tagline. A tagline is a developing story. This isn't something that is set in stone necessarily. This is our jumping off point. Later in the presentation, you'll see several other kind of mini taglines that might evolve more over time. Where we're starting, where our launch pad is where stories live. Talking about the story in motion from the settling indigenous area. I mean, how many amazing stories all the way back to our mining stories, going through the whole process of who is Idaho Springs and all the stories that have brought us to life. And we have so much well-documented history here that this is a great way for us to start by telling our stories.
Stories don't just have to be hidden, your story can be fresh.
Yeah.
Things are changing in these stories so much.
This is a way to keep us kind of dynamic in a way that it's an enhancing and a building. We're bringing you into our story, and you'll see a lot of that throughout the presentation. Brand framework. Again, similar to values, these are those guiding principles. I'm really going to be running a lot of our marketing and all of our things through these principles. Preserving history, maintaining natural beauty, strengthening our community, and growing sustainably. Steve and I have a lot of conversations about what does growing sustainably mean? I think from this aspect, especially for council, you guys have been very clear, you don't want us spending a lot of marketing dollars or advertising where we don't need it. Be aware of how we're spending our dollars to make sure we're not, say, spending a bunch of money to advertise in the summer when we don't have any extra parking and we're irritating people. So we're bringing them here, they don't have this park. Or we're paying attention to how we're advertising what hours the mountain park is open to impact residents. You know, that's what that grow sustainably means. It's really talking about how to be very aware of how we're growing. Doing sense. And don't do it just because we're trying to grow. We want to have a reason behind growth. The differentiators in reputation, this kind of goes into our pillars and identity, so I'm going to push them in. Here you'll see some of those smaller taglines that we talk. So we're a great community. We're a local community. We're a small town with a big heart. We're historic. We are a historic atmosphere. The gold rush legacy lives on. Outdoors, we're outdoor recreation. We're adventure without the crowds. Close to Denver, proximity to Denver. We're that gateway to the Rockies. Mountain town, we're authentic mountain town. We're real Colorado. So you can kind of see where those things will start to kind of serve as foundation into positioning statements and marketing campaigns. You can see each one of these as a little mini marketing campaign section of the website would be focused on those kind of areas with those things. Positioning is, again, you'll see a lot of the same themes running through this. This talks about where we are now. Personality, again, when we did the workshop, there were so many things up here on who is our personality, what do we represent, what do you think about, feel when you see us, and these 6 came to the top: authentic, adventurous, friendly, established, energizing. A lot of the things we were not. We're not stuffy. We're not serious. We're not. I can't remember.
Well, pretentious.
Yeah, we're not pretentious. We're not like, I think there was like high class in it, you know, it's like, we want to be real. We want to be rugged. I think rugged barely missed the cutoff here. I think rugged was definitely up there in its top. So archetype is definitely a fancy way of saying like an identifier or like a categorizer of like defining who you are. And we didn't fall into one category, which I knew we kind of wouldn't because we're a very unique community. There's 5 major archetypes. We are 60% explorer and 40% everyday man. So we're kind of mixing that culture together. You can see that over and over again in the presentation. Tone of voice, this talks about how we talk. How, especially when we're looking at doing more macro style advertising, or we're thinking about doing TV and radio advertising, how we talk is really important. So this talks about the tone of voice. Rooted in discovery is kind of, again, that really deep part of what we know is an identifying part of who we are. This is kind of the overall feel. Again, when I'm looking at building marketing materials, building advertising, working with advertising contractors, these are kind of the things I'm going to be sharing with them. We want to be natural, friendly, and confident. It's like a local sharing a story, not a tourism board selling you an experience or telling you have to. This is more of an inclusive approach, which is very different than many other municipalities that do branding. They're really about selling themselves to the visitor. We're about creating an inclusive atmosphere that's marketing us as a whole community, not just selling it to a visitor coming to us. Balancing history is really important in here. Characteristics, again, authentic, down to earth, story driven is really important, really making the visitors feel like they're a part of our experience. They're a part of who we are. This will also help promote better visitors. By helping inviting them into our story, we're going to teach them how to be good visitors and how to visit us properly and nicely and be low impact. This is both do's and don'ts. Again, this is going to be really helpful and guiding for us when we're working on marketing materials, doing Instagram reels, doing Facebook stories, doing those kind of things, making sure we're aligned with this kind of voice strategy. Versus here you can see the don'ts of voice strategy. it can be a lot of jargon when it comes to marketing and branding. It serves purpose for a lot of people in the industry because it will really help keep us in line and not getting off track. I promised you guys that I would present and get you something that was going to keep us real and true to the goals and values of this community, and these strategies will really help us keep us that way. So where stories live, a friend sharing a story, a local welcome you in, a campfire conversation makes you lean in closer. This is kind of the core behind it all, is we're really going to be telling our story. Idaho Springs is got so many great stories. They aren't just told, they're lived. Like Steve said, this is our living and breathing story. This isn't about polished, prepackaged experiences. This is about real life experiences in our real small town. How we'll tell the story, again, this is going to talk a lot more about this. It's actually very much in line with Clear Creek County as a whole. Georgetown is also doing a very similar style of marketing campaign where the locals are telling the story. This isn't about presenting and selling something. This is about, hey, this is what I love about Idaho Springs. Hey, this is what I love here. I want you to be a part of it. Come experience it. Core themes. Again, really important things we're going to be focusing on at the start: the Gold Rush legacy, gateway to adventure, a town with character, close to Denver, a world away. Really talking about, not a lot of chain stores. We're more than just a pass through. There's more to do here. We got a lot of character. We really are a gateway to adventure. There's so much you can do. We're a launch pad. You can do so much from here. So that's a lot of the tone. Who's telling the story? This talks about positioning, and from a marketing standpoint, who's going to be talking. This is really going to be more of a single person, not just someone telling you what to do. This is going to be a first person story. No pressure. Check it out. We're just inviting you in. We're not telling you you have to, or it's the best thing you've ever seen. We're not selling an experience. We're inviting people into our story. This is really important. It sets us apart. This is not a traditional brand selling strategy. Most people are trying to sell you something, especially when it comes to destination marketing. Most are focused on how do I sell you that you're going to have to come. This is more about, we're inviting you. We want you a part of this. We want you to be a part of our community. Target users. Fun names. This was derived through lots of things. Lots of market research. We dove way deep into Placer, and if you've gotten deep into Placer at all, there's this thing called leakage. So what leakage means is it's an identified demographic of people where they know who you are, but they're not really coming to you as much as you want them to. They might come a little bit, but you're really missing the mark. You aren't getting the most bang for your buck as you could get. So our primary user is our largest leak area. She is also the networker. She is the brand advocate. She's the person that's going to tell every single one of her friends how amazing Idaho Springs is, no matter if she's coming with them or not. She's the networker. Every time her family comes, she's bringing her entire friends and family group up here. She's talking about us in the metro area. She's talking about us with her coworkers. She is bringing her small groups up here. She is the type of demographic right now that we don't have as much, which is why she's our primary target. Secondary target is we do already have this group of people here. We just know that we can enhance their stay. We can have them coming more often than they're coming right now. They can stay longer. They can visit more regularly. We are the most accessible for them, especially in this economy where demographics are telling, or tourism data is telling us that out-of-state travel is going to become less and less and less. And we're going to be seeing more narrowing in that space, and we're going to be seeing more road trip traffic. Again, that's why they're a secondary user, because they are your road trip traffic. They're coming up here, they're day tripping, they're going to come up here for a staycation weekend. That they're there. They're already coming. We just have a room to grow and to continue to entice them back. Maybe they came 5 years ago, haven't seen it. So that kind of thing.
We saw a lot of them in gas prices kind of high.
Yep. And we'll continue, I think this summer especially, and I plan on doing a lot of tracking with this with Placer and the other tools we have. I do anticipate we're gonna see an increase in this demographic this summer. Tertiary user. Now, the reason this person is picked is because they're gonna be here, no matter what, this bike park is gonna be open. We need to know how to talk to this person. We need to know how to talk to this person to tell them how to be a good visitor. Also, how to shop our businesses and participate in our community. We want him to be a part of the community. We don't want him to just ride the trails and leave. We want him to ride the trails, go have some barbecue, come downtown, buy a present for his girlfriend, then go back down the mountain. Right now, we are not meeting or talking at all. So, good. That's a reason he's up. These are how you kind of solve their, so when you look at marketing, you see what their problem is, and we meet how we solve the problem. So why more research into why the primary, secondary, and tertiary users were picked is because we fit their problems from an external and an internal problem standpoint. And also philosophy, we're in alignment with what their needs are. Any questions about all the heavy duty strategy work?
I would just say very well thought out. A lot of work went into it.
A lot of hours in that strategy. A lot of hours. Okay, now to the fun part, which is what everybody wants to see. And I'll pass this around because I got printed versions for everybody. There's only one copy of everything, so just go ahead and pass everything around. This is the visual identity aspect of the brand. This is called a type mark. This is a primary type mark. We are proposing a primary and a secondary type mark. This can be combined with what's called an icon mark to create a logo. Do we have one crafted yet? No. So when you're looking for a logo, I don't have one created for you yet. Logo is a component of a type mark and an icon mark combined into a pretty format to put together. You can use a logo and the type mark on its own. You can use the icon mark on its own. It's complex, but we're getting there. The strategy I would like to say is concrete. It's cement. It's done. It's ready to go. The identity aspect, the visual aspect of this, let's call it wet cement. As we start applying it and putting it into practice, there might be some tweaks we need to do, some things we need to work around, some different applications we might need to work with it on. And what we have done is really get us to this stage where we want to put it in front of you guys and tell what I'm looking for is for you guys to say, yes, keep going. You're doing a really good job. We want to keep it. What I can do then is start applying it to marketing material, building out the website with this information and start putting it into practice. Then I might be looking at the board to tweak some things. I would say, hey, this isn't looking good on a banner. Let's maybe use this instead. How does everyone feel? So just to give you an idea that this is not like, when I presented this to the board, they were like, well, this is, none of everything that you see after this is final. This is all wet cement to a certain extent. This kind of talks about a little bit behind why we picked this. So industrial stamp marking of machinery, the stamps that used to be on the old maps, a lot of old mining style machinery has this very industrial look to it. That's really where the inspiration behind this mark came from. This is a completely customized mark. This is not a font that you can go put out on anything. This is a completely customized font to us. This is the icon. We have been through so many iterations of this that I can't even begin to tell you. Like I said, we're still in a little bit of wet cement stage. However, this is really where we've gotten to. This is the best and brightest version of this. We still have a few more things that we're working through, such as representation of water in the mark. We do feel that's important. The water wheel is there.
You just want to muck this one up. This is good. Compared to what we went through, most of the census we had is on this one. And there's a bunch of elements. We use this in different ways or parts of it. It doesn't have to be just that.
For example, we could remove the water wheel part of that and it could be a trail marker. You could invert colors on it and use it in different formats.
Take the frame away.
Take the frame and only use the components. So it has a lot of flexibility to it. The more components you add to a mark, the more mucky it gets and the harder it is to implement. This is our color palette. We have some beautiful colors represented, drawing from our natural landscape. It also, the color palette specifically is what is in alignment with our target users. So when we did market research, these are the hot colors that are going for our target users. Our target users are attracted to these bright, vibrant colors. They're very attractive and on what we would say is on trend. They have a lot of Brighton's national park vibes.
National park, but they're a little more vibrant.
Yes. Yeah, and we have some aligned colors in here from other destinations in the city as well. The gold is Argo's gold, similar gold. So again, when we're looking at doing co-branded and marketed materials, we'll find alignment because of those matching features. This is the font we're suggesting using, which is called OC Highway. It's very versatile. We can use it in italics, we can use it not, we can use it in a bold, we can use it in caps. This kind of gives you an example of the different ways we can use that font. I also have examples of it in the last piece of marketing material I'll pass out.
This font, you can make it look 1,000 different ways by different treatments. The weight of it, the spacing of it, making it a little bit lean more, not lean at all. There's many ways that font can be treated.
It's also free. So for those that don't know, fonts are not always free. As Lisa knows, as Kate knows, fonts can actually be very expensive. This is free. So we can access and use this font for free as a municipality. We also don't need to apply for any kind of license fee for this font, which is another huge thing. Sometimes fonts are licensed, which require paying annual fees to use them. We don't have to do any of that for this font, which was kind of part of my ask for, I wish I could. Okay, so next part is what you guys have seen a little bit in your packet that I passed around. This is the brand in action. Again, remember, wet cement, none of this is finalized. These are just conceptual ideas of what it could look like in an action-oriented format. Similarly, just so you know, if you look at the lettering on this truck, you will see that the OC Highway looks very similar to that. We've pulled a lot of inspiration from our old imagery. So you'll see kind of that theme running throughout. Now, what's interesting about this and what has been done in other municipalities is we can trademark certain things as a municipality, and then you can do a trademark agreement with retailers in the city that they could then make and sell these t-shirts, and they would have a trademark agreement with the city that they could use the branded materials on t-shirts and such. We could also do it at events, those kind of things.
This is interesting because in 1859, was the custom Idaho Springs font. You're the one with OC Highway, but the way it's treated, that drop shell, it really looks like a retro. That wasn't there before the weapons.
This is super rough. I do want to remind you guys that we are entering into stage 2 of this package after we move through approval from you. The next step is the wayfinding grant that we were awarded by Colorado Tourism. This is just a super rough. Obviously, as we move into the grant project, we'll be doing in-depth work around wayfinding and signage throughout. This is just a rough example. And this is OC Highway.
You can see all those different no drop shadow, and it's kind of spaced far apart.
And again, we have gone through so many iterations and I love all the opinions, and we've been with so many, we've gotten so much farther than we were when I first presented this. I'm so grateful we have kept at it. This is similar to what Steve said. This is the OC Highway applied. with a different format. So this is where I'm saying we would have a type mark 1, version 1, type mark 2. For applications where type mark 1 would clash, if I was to put the original type mark on this style, it wouldn't look right. It would look like it was in contrast and it would be clashing. Where this type mark is type mark B, it applies very well. This is an example of what a website might look like. We are in initial development of the website now. We have a framework up and we have a homepage and an events page mocked up. So we're making progress, but this is an example of what a website landing page could look like. This is an example of a billboard at DIA. This is an example of, say, a branded product line. If we wanted to, again, trademark it, we could trademark it, which I'm gonna recommend that we trademark it, no matter what we do. But if you wanted to create a trademark licensing agreement where businesses in the community could then apply to use it on their products, this is an example of how that might. Easy swag. Again, billboards say maybe at Colorado Mills or at DIA, different versions of smaller style billboards. I really like the way this treatment on the Gold Rush Legacy lives. Again, that's where you're seeing the difference between the two type marks and how they might be used. You might start applying this style of type mark in different places and seeing that it's not accessible, that it's not going to be legible in certain formats. So that's where unknowing you have a secondary type mark is. Quick ad example. This is one of my favorites. I can see that this is Colorado, Idaho Springs sign being put up somewhere in the downtown master plan redesign as an Instagrammable moment for people to take pictures behind, or having it painted up on a building as a mural. Here are the two next to one another to see how they flow together. Again, not a logo yet. The logo is putting them all into one piece that hasn't been designed yet. We want to get approval before we go any deeper. Okay, here's the tagline at the end. So I wanted to give you a little bit of example of more of a brand in action. This is a summer events calendar, obviously not wet cement. I designed this. So this is something where you can see how it might be applied in a format for us to use in a day-to-day kind of format. And the events on there are real.
It's a working document.
That's hard to submit.
Yeah, the events are hard to submit. The other part of it is just an example of how one might apply it with the colors and the different stories and all of that. So, all right. Thoughts, feedback, considerations?
I really like the logo. I like the template of the big kudos on free font because font was really expensive. And as the become pinches a little bit, people that create this kind of thing, doing more on top of it. And Getty was soon people.
Yeah.
I think like this would be some color, but like if you did the greens and creams, I think this is really good. This is really well thought out. If I'm looking at this as somebody that started coming up here before I ended up living up here, this would fit me. Very much so.
Dave?
I love it. I don't want to see any tourists, but I love it.
Stop there.
I think it's very clear where I stand on this, you know, I want the town to myself. No, it looks really great, you guys.
Well, from the town from itself, though, do you think, like, from a local's perspective, it kind of speaks to that united?
It really does,
vision?
and you were saying something I was kind of chuckling about, like speaking the language. Being someone that works at the library, there's many people that come in. Today, we had a person traveling through on foot, put it that way. And they were asking a lot of questions about our town. I tried to put them up. So I think he went to like every shop in town looking for like day work. And I was thinking like, okay, that's just one conversation that I have. And then last week I had people from India who were asking me about our town, and I'm sending them up to 103 to go look at the Arapahoe historic fountain that you can go and get your water from. So I have a totally different conversation, at least every day with a different visitors. So I'm already in doing that, whether I like it or not, and I'm doing it. So, yes, but I do think this is actually very provocative. I think it's gonna pop some people downtown. Yeah, I think it's gonna bring a younger demographic to those apartments when they're finished. I think that's what is gonna happen.
It does give it a little hit vibe for sure.
It does. And I think, I think we're in that balancing act that I think everybody talks about on Facebook, is we don't want to be Breckenridge and Aspen, which I always find hysterically funny. Because there's absolutely no way we could be either of those places just based on our location. However, keeping it like, let's just say, I'll use my word raw and kind of like, another nicer word is rustic, kind of not putting too many polishes on it, especially a
Frills,
planning commission and things like that, and saying, hey, there's a lot of individuality here, and let's retain that, because I think that's what we have.
I totally agree with that.
Is that's a word that we're not using. I think that we really need to look at it like everybody is welcome. We are inclusive. We are DEI.
Love that.
No, I agree. As someone who's lived in Breckenridge, I can
You know.
say, one of the things I love about this community is how unpretentious it is. But I think this does speak to like the authenticity and
Unpretentious is such a good word.
yeah.
I didn't like that we weren't high class. I was like, you can
No,
be unpretentious
I like
and high class at the same time.
Have high standards.
High standard, okay.
High standards.
So high class does sound snooty.
Yeah,
but I was
like we have high standards, I think is.
we're
for
at
sure.
low class. I mean, the opposite of high class.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Mystery can change.
Yeah.
It's like, do you need to be thanking people now to be talking over beer with tourists?
I think that honestly happens
We
naturally.
did that on Friday night, don't worry.
I
We
was gonna say,
covered-
have you been to the
Lisa
TK
covered
bar
food
in
ground
Red
Friday
Rabbit?
night.
You
We've talked
got
about this.
yourself,
Okay,
you got yourself a local, just go sit at the TK bar in Rabbit, we'll
Yeah.
talk your ear off
We
for
were
an hour
there.
and
I
a
don't
half.
know, Steve wasn't there, thank God.
What do you think?
You're like a man of few words.
No, it's good. You love the brand. Brand is a good deal.
Yes.
Something that we should brand is everything. How do you get brand and what do you do? Really so part of the process. You get it done, you get it out there. People recommend. It's very. I agree 100%.
I was gonna say, definitely I would like to explore the idea of trademarking. Trademarking is not that expensive, but, we definitely need to do it before something happens.
Yeah.
And then be prepared to send our attorneys to sick people on it. The trademark is only worth what you will defend it. But doing that kind of trademarking and branding, I would totally think that's a good idea.
I really would fully recommend that for council. I think adopting it as the brand itself, adopting the mark and the logo, putting through the trademark package really creates consistency, as well as things like when we want to, using an example like brand the trash cans, we have a consistent thing we can go to that we can say, hey, we have a brand package, we can easily apply it and use it throughout town. This is not just say for market businesses.
Just down guideline book.
Yeah.
Exact fonts can use in certain situations, the colors, how you can use them. And all these uniform consistency.
Have you guys reached out to the other businesses about the trademark? Obviously Frothy Cup is one.
Oh, no, we have not gotten anywhere
Anywhere.
near that yet. I do know that we have several retailers that are interested that would like to be able to have an authorization to use the trademark, such as T-shirts and stuff like that. Mountain Made specifically, Jordan's like, sign me up, like as soon as I can, please. Especially she really liked the stamp T-shirt. She was like, that would
Fly. Mhm.
Same thing with the year. I think
And
that's a
also
really, really popular format. And so
They
the,
would sell
Is there-
coffee.
And I'm just brainstorming, is there something that people put on their $5,000 bikes that are like iconic, like,
No, we need stickers.
well, I know, I know, well,
I was
if
gonna
you're
put
not
a sticker
pretentious,
on
you
your
will.
$5,000. We could put like, we could make like a little bike attachment
You
bag.
will if
You
you're
know,
not
they have
pretentious.
like those little bags that you can like hook on your handlebars.
Yeah, I don't know of any local bad.
I put it on my Yetis, I thought the same thing.
I know some that are local too.
Colorado.
Oh, within.
Yeah, it would be cool to reach out to some of those, as well as I know Comba is really interested in finding ways to partner with this brand as well.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking is that, I mean, I'm not necessarily talking stickers, but are there like things that they have to use that would give them, that we could put our,
Oh, put our mark on that.
Our mark on that.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, I'll reach out to Gary on that. I think that's a good thought. when you said that.
you know? And I think, I mean, if I'm gonna welcome them, they should spend money on stuff that we want them to spend money on.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. When we get that local new bike shop, we'll
would
make
be
sure
awesome.
they,
That would be awesome.
they have that.
That would be great.
Well, thank you guys so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. I think what we're looking for, Andy, and I think we have it as a consensus to continue to move forward with what we're doing, and putting it into action, which I'm excited about. This was my first go at putting it into action,
It looks
so
good.
thank
It
you
looks
for the
good.
feedback, and I agree with you. I played with the colors like 12 times, but more than anything, I wanted to show every single
This is the
color.
reveal today.
I wanted to show every single color in the color palette, which is a little.
Now, grass was
No,
interesting.
it's okay.
My grass looks like that
You put them in
sometimes.
the month, so that makes it.
Yeah, except for August. But.
Oh, I got you, okay.
No, I think this is really good and it's not really fussy and it's versatile. I think versatile is really important.
Yeah, versatility is definitely the most important part. And as we start to apply it, I think we'll really see its versatility as we start to build it up on the website and put it. So just to give you guys an update on that, we are pushing forward as fast as we can. My goal is to have the landing page and the events page up by the first part of June. And then we'll build the rest of it kind of from the back end and start launching it live from that end. But the goal is to have the Visit Idaho Springs website up and going this summer.
Haven't really, see that.
100%. That was my big thing. What they're waiting for me right now is that style brand guideline that Steve was talking about, all the official assets that they can start uploading to the website.
Lucy, you had a question?
I do, what, and I can't remember, that's when, did we do a specific budget for targeted campaign? Because when I look at stuff like the airport or UAP posters, do we have that budget built in for 2025? We can start some of that so that we can start trying to populate for 2025, 2026.
We do have, we had originally targeted to start spending it in the spring and a little bit in the summer. The board followed my recommendation and pushed all of that money into fall and fourth quarter, just because we weren't ready. So we do have money set aside for fourth quarter, essentially, to start spending on target. And have a good idea of how much I will have back to talk about marketing dollars for 2026. But that way we'll have some examples of what we've done and what may or may not have worked, and to have some practical examples.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Run away.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you coming in and that's some great work.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's me like that's me speeding through. I was like,
Do you wanna take these and start putting them up around town?
don't keep them for yourself. I have more. No, I have to get them approved by the board first, but yes. Take them and start spreading them around.
I'll put it up at the library.
Yes, please put it up at the library. We can make our official first little peek preview.
All right, well,
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, no, I'm. I thought it was the more of the flyer.
next up, Dylan, thank you for your work on the affordable housing policies. And I think I speak for everyone on council when I say your example of how messed up the AMI is where we are lumped into the Denver metro area. And for example, 100% AMI, two-bedroom apartment could be 2935. I think all of us know that there's no world in which locals would think that was okay for affordable housing.
Well, the thing that's really interesting about these charts is, like, if you look at our chart against, let's say, Summit County or Pickens County, our chart's higher. Because of how it's defined, because we're in Denver Metro, which
Does Evergreen affect that as well? Are they as high as we are?
they're in Jefferson. Well,
Well,
part of us and part of Jefferson, they're the same as us.
Um,
So it's like us and Jefferson County, and Idaho and Douglas and Denver and all these things. So,
yeah,
you say, well, I think the challenge that I've run into ever since I became a planner, but here especially is like, I have conversations with people all the time now that says like, we want to build affordable housing, what's your goal for affordable housing, what isn't that, and affordable has become like a buzzword that really doesn't mean anything because like, in conversations in the past, people said, well, we're gonna do 100% AMI or 110% AMI, and you say, well, there is a definition where that's affordable, but when you actually look at it, you say,
Yeah.
like, who's it affordable to? Like, what's our actual goal? And so I'll have this report. This is really just a very early, high level thing, but we're gonna be presenting on this Dr. Cog regional housing needs assessment in a month or two. The data kind of has been presented in a webinar recently, but you kind of say, well, what's our actual need, right? And so they came out with this chart that I included. Basically, they say by 2032, Dr. Cog's data says we need 105 more units. Most of these, when you look, 60 of the 105 is at 50% AMI per this AMI chart or lower. So, for a one bedroom, it would be 1,200 a month or less. And which most people have, I think, have come to the city to talk affordable housing, other than Riverbends, doesn't get anywhere close to them.
Nope.
And so I think really my goal for this item is to start the conversation of what actually is affordable housing. Is it the state's definition? Or is it something else for us? And then how do we actually get that housing? Because the problem we see with talking to folks is, well, yeah, we'd love to get, build 30% AMI, but unless the city's building it as developers, which I don't really think we have the capacity to do, no one is going to be able to afford to build 30% AMI housing in today's market, especially. So, not all of these potential policies work, and probably a lot of them don't really move the needle that much. But between clarifying, this is what affordable housing means to us, and these are what we'll offer you if you actually achieve it, then a developer can say, does it actually work for us or not?
So, Dylan, my question, I honestly don't have a clue as to how you fix this. I don't think there's anything wrong with everybody agreeing on the definition. For example, HUD says no more than 30%, albeit HUD also believes that should include utilities. But I think where we really draw swords is 30% of what? Because we can't be 90,000 or 90,200 dollar average, and that's what I'm not sure how to fix.
Yeah,
Because it's not fair to lump us into the Denver metro
Not at
income.
all.
right. Well, this is the exact conversation I had with planning commission, and we did not get into incentives at all, other than for them to say, if we can actually determine how to answer that question, then we're on board with rolling out the red carpet for
Yeah,
actually addressing these, 105 units or the 225 units that are needed in the county, at this level. But, the market can build a higher level housing. It's this really low level stuff that we actually need that
Yeah, and I
doesn't
do,
really work.
so we're getting on the football field, that's not affordable. And then, the housing authority just signed a letter of support for someone to develop Carlson into housing. That's not affordable.
Well, not
Not-
what we actually.
It's affordable, but not actually for people
Yeah.
who live here.
Right.
So-
Even according to this, those are not affordable.
No, definitely the gold diggers, not, but I'm saying the Carlson, if they were to move forward with that development. And we're just like running out of land. I mean, theoretically, right? Like those are two huge chunks of land.
So we only
I
have
think
so many shots to get this
to
right.
get it right. So I do think the urgency is there in like figuring out what we want affordable to mean and then actually, because it didn't come up at housing authority. I'm just kidding, you can tell me what happened. But I think it was generally in support, but I think these conversations, if we're gonna support something like that, like need to be
Right.
happening and at the forefront of like, is this actually meaningful to the people in this community?
That's the key thing, I think, because someone could say, I'm doing 80% to 120% AMI based on this definition. And then they can feel like, we're doing affordable housing, right? And it's called affordable housing, like up to 120% is considered affordable.
Right, it's $3,000 or more a month.
But it doesn't actually, but like, I don't think we'd be, or at least I think if we say, if people want to build that, fine, we just obviously shouldn't like go out of our way to support it with giving out. And
Yeah, because there will be our locals taking advantage of it.
Right.
Sure, not many.
And
Not our
so,
current locals.
Yeah.
But not to the-
yeah, and so I think it's almost, in general, I think the direction I'd be looking for is whether it's even, if we can figure out a way to answer, to your points, is it worth continue going down the path of considering incentive programs to actually address that issue? The other goal would be, let's actually work to define what we want to see and what we actually would support.
I have a question, can we make modification from this to what we consider affordable?
Right.
Our,
Yeah,
but can we make our own definition?
can we
of affordable?
petition, I mean, to whomever
Oh,
determines
no,
the territory.
I'm not even looking at petition, I'm just like, according to the city of Idaho Springs, yes, this is one thing, but here's what we basically want. And we base it on parking, what we
A
see as
median
our
income.
median income.
Well, I think in some ways,
How much trouble
yes,
can we get in if
and
we
in
do
some
that?
ways, no. So I think as far as, so like last year, the state passed legislation that I'm working on applying right now, the amendments needed for expedited review of affordable housing.
Yes.
Meeting this state's definition of affordable, the 60% AMI and the 100% for sale, 60% for rental. But it's based on this chart, and I don't know, I don't know if either of you would know, is there any way that I don't know that we can divorce ourselves from that data.
I'm not saying divorce ourselves, I'm saying actually go and say, this is not this is not our reality
Right,
here.
the premise.
You're talking about us as if we are literally in Denver. And
Exactly.
you obviously have never explored this corridor. I don't know what Gilpin's going through, but we touch Park and they can't possibly be meeting this, so Park is out there, but these are 3 counties in a row that have a rural experience, whether or not we are rural in our city or not. We're rural and we're not rich by any stretch of the imagination.
No, in Kate.
It's Upper Bear Creek that really throws the skew in my mind.
Well, you're right, and I just feel like the information is there. Zip code 80452.
Right.
I mean, there's not that many addresses. There might be 1,500 addresses if you include St. Mary's and
Right.
others that are close enough to be 80452. But that would be a really good reflection. The IRS has that information every single year from
It does.
filers.
And Upper Little Bear absolutely and so does Floyd Hills
Yeah.
skews our county.
Of course.
I mean, I don't know how many homes are in those 2 areas, but there's not as there are in our town, Georgetown, Dumont County, and Empire.
Our
And
median
so
income is 51,543.
for,
Men,
for this town,
for this 80452, in this zip code, average income for men is 35,328, and women 21,460.
Okay,
How do you
so
look at
household, it has a 51,000 and change.
Median household income is 51,543.
Wow, see, that's a huge difference.
Right, because that would put us at 55% of this rated at AMI.
Yeah.
And I certainly think we could say, this is the state's definition, great. I think the way we probably need to do it is to get an updated housing needs assessment for us, or maybe for Craig County as a whole, but for,
I would say as a
Us.
whole and individual parts.
because our 2018 housing needs assessment, which basically to get to future topic for a few months later. By the end of next year, we have to adopt a new housing needs assessment, one way or the other. Dr. Cog did their data, which shows, our needs at, this chart, and they did it for everywhere. In Denver, in their region, that's part of true. But that includes the region. We can either sign on with this and say, well, we've achieved our need by the end of next year. That doesn't preclude us from doing our own as
How
well.
much is in zero
but-
to 60%? We don't need it up here.
Right.
And here.
Well, and this combines rental and for sale. So it basically says, 60-ish% needs to be at $1,200 a month or less for a one bedroom, which maybe that is somewhat reasonable, I don't know, for someone. who's making
Well, it's
that
really not
much.
reasonable, because that's not what you see here.
But certainly don't get it, and I don't know if even that's affordable, because field house is going to be 50% more.
But it just be like, we define it and have ourselves, and it's like a one pager that we would provide or that we would advertise and be like, this is how we define it. If you're doing this, we want to incentivize you, but these are our definitions we have to fall under, like, we're not incentivizing affordable by the state's definition. Here's our qualifications and we
I
have
think we
that.
take
a position doing that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm pretty comfortable.
There are a few things, like expedited reviews. We
See
have
if it
to
works.
set at
He's
that
not gonna sting
level.
anybody.
So
Leave
if
him
someone's at 60% or
Leave
less
him alone, he's
rental,
fine. I have
we
so many in
to
my bed.
expedite
They
it
never
by
sting me.
state law. But if we wanted to
They
do
never
any of
sting
these
me.
other incentive programs, we could certainly say it's only if you hit.
Well, I like a lot of it. I like deferring water and sewer tax fees, the tax exemptions. I love the idea of flexibility for EDU specific incentives. I think there's a lot of work, we could have somebody who puts an EDU, and that EDU may only do 2 studio apartments, but that's 2 more studio apartments for a single person. You only do 2.
I think you guys are on the right track. I mean, I think what Andy feels it makes him comfortable is kind of what I'm thinking, is maybe we just have to define it ourselves. And you walk in the door with incentives on the table. You already know what we've we haven't come up with the plan, but you know what we're willing to if you go here, here's what we're gonna do
Yeah.
for you. And I think that's very provocative, because I don't think you can get that guarantee anywhere.
I think that was planning, that's exactly what planning commission said as well. They're like, there's no point talking about incentivizing development until we say what the actual goal is.
And what we need.
Want for the issue. And so with that, obviously, some of it is we have to kind of work within the framework of what the state says we have to do. It's that reviews have to be the 100% AMI for, and this is a future topic as well. We already meet the requirements for that, so it's pretty small risk to be in compliance for that. So but I do think what moves the needle is much lower. So
I think they're developing it for our town, our needs, because I've been screaming about this one for
Yeah.
years. This is a bunch of nonsense for us. If we develop that for our town and we're very clear, if you can do this, here's what we do. Oh, you can't do that? Okay. Mazel tov. Off we
Right.
go.
do you think it's worth the coordination with, since we have regional housing authority, I do feel like in general, Clear Creek County, we can't go our way out of everyone's mess, and it should be a regional effort, but
Are you asking whether we should be in coordination with those guys?
I think, okay.
yes.
I mean, I think you're the best one to answer that, but I think yes.
I think, yes, we
Think it
voted
seems
for it,
reasonable.
we're funding it. This to me is another arm, another tool.
But not only that, but if we do it collectively as a county, we say, this is what we're looking at as
Because
a
this
county.
negatively impacts the rest of the county as well,
And-
these numbers.
This doesn't make sense to almost any of the county except for Upper Little Bear, which is undevelopable at this time.
Yes.
And so is Floyd Hill. There's no development going in either of those places,
So they have to
affordable
come
or not.
west.
Yeah, so affordable or not, it's not happening. Nobody's buying the Willie Nelson Ranch and putting in affordable apartments.
We never talked about that. I don't know if it was brought up. With the review a little bit. So yeah, it just hasn't been a good discussion. I'd imagine,
I mean, I think it's a
Makes me
good starting
supportive.
point right now. Yeah, get it on the table.
yeah.
You guys have a lot of stuff that you still have to get on the table. You need a table, I think, from my understanding.
Give him a PO box.
Yeah, well,
I got a
You
PO box.
You almost have a bank account, maybe.
know,
Well,
that
let us know when
takes
you get the
more
table
work
and then
than
we'll
you
throw
would
it
think.
down.
It's amazing what it takes to open a bank.
I know, there's like all these.
Oh my God.
Jeremy, your thoughts?
I think if you look at even, you got countywide where to go, you start adding SCI. Because we don't have an Idaho Springs, but it's also over, that's it's in the county, right? So Lawson County, all the way through Georgetown, that's a big deal.
What did you call it, Jeremy?
It's SCI,
What-
it's income, it's limited mobility, all that combined, right? We've got. And that's one of the issues we have too, as a community, is we don't have a good, we have very limited options besides, let's look at the car, right? You can hope for a bus service that may or may not show up on time. Or
They're getting
they're
better.
getting better, I'm not saying they're bad. But as we start getting out of Idaho Springs, you're at, you go to access food, medical care, and all that stuff.
That's in deserts.
Transportation
Mhm.
becomes a big issue.
Mhm.
So I think all of things we consider. I think if you look at the census data that shows different pictures in the metro area, pretty drastic.
Yes.
You can drill down on census data down to geo boxes within zip codes. Those are not poured in the census data. You can get down to
Mhm.
what is it for right here where we sit. You can
Right.
get that level, what's the income where we sit, what's the income for that income. I think it's the exercise is probably something we have to do. If we want to defend the state of regulation, we're not using the AMA as published by the government metro area.
You gotta have it on
We have-
paper.
We have really good data countywide. This is why we're going in that direction.
This is our
And
only
this is
choice,
data
by
that
the way.
backs that decision.
Yeah, this is not like we arbitrarily, geographically, this is a choice for us.
Otherwise, it's like, I have a feeling that people can afford it.
Yeah.
Data proof.
Is the housing
If you don't have data
assessment
for it, yeah.
from 2018,
Well,
say?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Well, it's, a lot of it goes into that. From a grant perspective, like housing grants, SDI is a big deal, so. Housing grants in like Empire Junction have a better school, populated school higher. The funding than what some of the project in Idaho Springs, because they meet this criteria.
Empire actually.
Empire's an anti-development.
I know.
I was gonna say, they will
I
say
should
they
probably
have
move there,
nothing.
but,
They
okay.
have
They're building
nothing.
houses. But that's been a 2-year process.
Yes.
They're very
That's also-
anti-development,
Hey,
which I understand both sides. of it. But
yeah,
We need housing collectively. We have businesses that can't keep employees, because they can't live here,
right.
therefore they can't stay open. Both towns outside of Idaho Springs
Both sides of my brain are on both sides of this
have a huge issue
issue.
with this, so all of this goes kind of.
Yes, it's true.
Employee housing drives the ability to have businesses in the community, which drives sales tax revenue. All of this is exactly what the complaints are.
I know.
yeah, the 2018 housing needs assessment shows a number drastically different.
Yeah, 274. Isn't that what it is?
Well, there was more, that was county wide. It's actually, I think if I recall, our number for Idaho Springs itself is pretty similar, but like the average, the median income for our county is like, yeah, basically at the median income for 50 or 45% in actuality.
Under 52,000.
So with that in mind, if the average household income is 52, you know, you're at, like I said, 50% of what they're saying. So it's half of
Yeah.
what this says it is. And the 2018 stuff bears that out, I think, or it will, because right now it says it's like 20-something thousand, because things change so much since 2018. It's like, it's an even bleaker picture, I guess. It's like, that we
Well,
can use that data.
It also goes to what you said, we have to look at this countywide. I know that Empire is not very development friendly with this thing, but none of us will survive if we don't have anywhere to live. It's that simple. Full county.
And I mean, they are in the housing authority, where they join their money, you know, their contributions.
Maybe it's not
open to
dragging, I
it.
don't know.
They're open to like some, hopefully clean.
Collaboration, for
Collaboration.
sure.
And I really do think it has to be regional and it has to involve the housing authority, but the urgency perhaps is like, there's people, our limited parcels are sort of being circled right now for development, and you say, well, we don't, if we don't at least have the definition of what we say is affordable and will support through formal support, then we're gonna get 100% AMI or market rate housing, and then but we can't deny it. You know,
I would say we
because
can't
it's all
deny that
about-
if the land use is there, if the appropriate land use designation is there, we can't deny it. I would rather, I see the urgency, I would rather go through this and spell out our definitions, and then go housing.
I do think it's worth for Gene, I guess, I suppose, since you're our city representative on the housing authority, do you think it's worth engaging with staff from all the other communities to say, this is the direction we want to go in the near future, or how do we, like, are you on board, do you want to come in on this, should we get it all kind of, well, maybe not an IGA, but let's bring it together so there's strength in members.
I think that's what the housing authority is.
That's what it is.
By definition, that's-
Yeah.
I'm curious,
And I think the point is well taken that they're looking for a table to.
Well, that's just the thing, it's just if they're in a place to have a
Your-
conversation, yeah, it's very
Yeah.
like, the bit like, we're trying to hire an executive director, we're trying to hire a consultant to just even figure out our goals and what we're doing and our strategic plan, like, we're in that place.
well, has Georgetown already decided who they want to be? I mean, they have, there's a ton of development up there going on. I don't know what that market rate is, but there are no businesses in Georgetown. I mean, when I say no, there are, yes, there are some. Exactly. I used to live there and it was bustling and I'm like, okay, now you're gonna have tons of, either second or hopefully first homeowners. What are they selling those places for and what was their plan? Because it sounds like Georgetown has already made its decision to be market rate.
It's
Yeah.
just, we just haven't had any of those.
Oh, and I'm not putting it
discussions,
on you guys, I'm just saying,
So would that
that's
help
the
if-
other town that's already,
I think
Made
it
the
was
call.
projects for previously approved, but- So that was a county land transfer.
I'm talking about right next to the lake.
But
Is
that's legacy stuff, so that was years ago, it was transferred to town of Georgetown. It was platted, it was developed.
You're talking about the lakeside property?
Yeah, all that's
Yeah, yeah.
happened, this has been, it's been big delay in being constructed.
Oh, I
Now we're seeing
remember, we lived there when
it-
it
Yeah, now we're
started,
seeing them be built, so a lot of things were allowed then
right?
that probably wouldn't be today,
Mhm.
but that shit's already sailed.
Yep, that's what I'm saying though, is
Yeah.
it sounds like Georgetown has made the call for that part of the
They kind
county.
of backed themselves.
Into a corner, yep.
From the market rate.
I would say that
Housing.
knowing the people that I know in Georgetown and having had lived there, they would not have been accommodating to affordable housing anyway. Let's just put that on the table too. They would not have liked that word in their repertoire of housing
So
stuff.
would it help though, the housing authority for us to get our ducks in a row?
I was gonna say, if you
Absolutely,
want
I'm
us
not
to-
saying-
That we're
I'm not
giving
saying-
that framework. and
If you
saying,
want to
here's-
submit something that they could support or sign on to.
Sure.
Maybe, I don't know if they're ready to sign on to say, yes, every municipality will offer all these incentives, right, like, but the
Right.
general.
But here are the target spots in Clear Creek,
But
maybe.
does it give the other municipalities something to think about?
Well, it definitely gives the ones that have developable space, yeah. Because they are gonna be the
Yeah,
prime
we're-
ones
we're
to like
running out.
actually
We don't
develop.
have a ton of
And
space.
also have a sales tax base, if they do like a stacked community where they have commerce underneath and they have housing above and it's more dense, which I don't know whether they like the density or not, I'm just getting the vibe that maybe they don't, in Empire. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. My opinion is yes, absolutely, we need to collaborate, we can't be a standalone island in this county.
There's also the urgency that.
Oh, yeah.
Something in place here, so.
Can we-
Come to the summer and say we want to develop this plan. He has something to base his decision off of. We'll incentivize this, we won't incentivize this.
Yeah.
We do need to figure that out collectively for ourselves, because we're still.
Right,
Regulated body.
and then,
And I think planning commission could probably work with this, sometimes with recommendations.
Certainly,
Yes, that
yeah.
point.
And on anything that's coming through in the very near future, I think direction is pretty clear to say, like, if you're basing it on these charts and it's not at a really low level of this chart, we're not, like, go ahead if you can afford to do it, but we're not incentivized.
Well,
Like, we're not
check- it sounds like we're, you know, kind of instructing, having been a former, you know, city, county commission, I mean, that too, but city, commissioner, planning commission. It sounds like council is giving Dylan the advice to give planning the advice to say, hey, target this right now for us, get that. This is what we wanna, this is what we wanna accommodate, and here's our trade-off.
I would agree if everybody's all right with that, and I think that that is the prudent thing to do, so as Jeremy was just saying, Dylan has something to work with.
Yeah.
And we can tell people early on, if you wanna stick with this $2,935 so-called affordable two-bedroom, then go for it if you can, you know, we're not going to stop it. Don't expect any incentives from us.
Zero, none.
But they get down to realistic local level affordability, then maybe, you know, we talk.
What about letters of support? Did you write one for the person?
The city did not. And has not to date. I think in general, because the letter of support that went to the housing authority that was signed, basically.
About the city.
Not interested. But because we would have to do all of the entitlements for it and things like that. So really the issue with that, letter of support, which is kind of a conversation just this, since you guys didn't see the letter of support. Basically, it was like, we have to do the entitlements, so we can't like give you a formal letter of support that says like, this is so great for us, because we need to actually do it and approve it.
The target said, this is an awesome project, oh yeah. We'll do it.
Right.
Yeah, so that was,
Well, so with anything, we would have really needed a lot of support in our.
Just started the process.
yeah, I haven't done any like formal submittals, they're just trying to apply for, funding stuff.
No, I figured it, I guess.
But I think on a broad level, like, once we get to a point where we are comfortable with what is affordable, from there, it'd be easy to say, well, we can't approve this specific project that goes through. We're in support of a project that meets these thresholds. But I don't know, based on this conversation, it sounds a project that's not clearly affordable at a level that makes sense, probably we should not be formally supported until we do a lot more work into what actually makes sense.
But can I just add, can we look at helping people who might, like, so if Chuck wants to go to ADU in his backyard, you've got a nice long backyard. ADU might work for you, you know, put the driveway in, or come in from Wall Street or whatever.
Truck has extra property.
Then, well, some of those are really long lots.
He does have a lot, he
Yeah.
also has a piece
So-
of Wall Street, he could have a walk down,
Yeah,
right
so,
there.
like, if we can do that right now, we are not conducive to ADUs, but if we had 20 people for ADUs that had 2 apartments each in them, that's 40 more dwellings.
Well,
We could have an
interesting that
ADU.
you bring that up, because there is going to be a draft ordinance in front of planning commission on this draft subject in June.
But
Because there's another state law that kind of says you need to roll the red carpet out for ADUs, but I think. So
change the
this,
parking conditions.
so there's quite a number of regulatory things that we have to do to comply, which could bring us a funding source to support like a rollout of like a preliminary. Like a preliminary like trial grant program to say like, hey, you want to build an ADU, we have $50,000, here's some amount of money to build it with the condition that you rent it out to a local. So that is coming down the pipeline in the very near future.
Really?
No, I'm glad, because I do see people that have long lots that could do something, but it is not conducive financially to build it, even if we did an ADU.
No. Lisa, I just want to pile on,
Oh, are you filing against me or with me?
Kevin Flynn is, on city council with Denver. And, he's term limited, he's been on for a long time. But he said he reflects back, before ADUs were gonna be any kind of a use that you were gonna be able to use by right, you had to fight tooth and nail. And he remembers the long drawn out battles on about 10 of them. And he says after a decade, there was exactly one, after all that fighting, one ever built of those 10.
Because it
So,
wasn't financially feasible.
he was just talking about what you're saying about if the numbers don't pencil out, it's really, really hard. And there's not that many where it works.
I mean,
you know,
seriously,
where
we
it
might have
fits.
20 in this town. To me, it's worth it to make it possible for the people to put it on there. And I say that, I'm gonna be totally transparent. I have an ADU at a long lot. There's an ADU in the back. I get a garage, there's 2 apartments. You know, there's ways to make this that it's.
I mean, we kind of have one, but it's not, doesn't
I mean, you
meet
can-
the standards
but
of that right now.
Could fix that into.
I think Kevin said it best, even though this is the Denver area, it isn't going to be a meaningful relief, for the.
I think it's,
housing
I mean,
crunch.
and for me personally,
You know,
it
we-
would cause issues, I think. in-
Yeah,
in densely
I doubt if we
populated
would end
neighborhoods.
up with 10 or 12 in Idaho Springs. We're
Maybe
so
let's not
tight.
make it, let's not make it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sure.
Well,
I think if you open that door, though, just because of the nature of our town, let's just say, Empire, throwing Empire under the bus, I don't mean to, but Empire does have
Yeah,
bigger
that's my
lots.
job.
It has bigger lots, and I could see it actually happening there, you know what I mean? Here, it's just like finding those spaces in town, they're few and far between.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should
Your neighbors
welcome
would be
it, with what few areas or lots that would even fit on, you know.
yeah, well, I would say probably a month from now, or give or take, there would be a item.
I still think it sounds good, by the way, there's a whole bunch of Denver people that love the idea of ADUs, so that's attractive to them.
Yeah.
Whether or not it'll happen, no, whatever.
Yeah, it's very different, like Summit County, you know, has a lot of large lots, they have like 250.
I'm sure.
We'll also open up a parking lot. In Colorado for Southern City.
What do they do?
They let people live in a parking lot. And
Yes.
they provide them with bathrooms.
That's a safe to park,
And they
that's a
can-
legit program.
Yeah, they can park
I
their cars
actually
and live
live
in
in
their
that
car.
here myself. but-
We only have about 15 minutes. I
I
do,
certainly have
If
the
you're
direction.
taxed, there's no
I mean,
Dylan,
part of me kind of understands it.
for the season.
Dylan, are you in need of additional direction?
I think,
All right.
I have enough to continue on.
Council, is there anything else that you'd like to share on this subject before I move to our last
Yeah.
topic? Okay, and thank you very much for that.
Just if I may, I think what I'm hearing from council is consensus that this toolbox of incentives is reasonable, makes sense for the right project and certain
Thank you.
AMI
Yes,
to be determined,
yes.
maybe based upon a proposal, but it sounds like these are tools that have been discussed before with other projects. Generally, we don't incentivize projects that no one pays its way, but here we've got some reasonable tools that we can use, incentives that we can use for the right type of affordable housing project.
Yeah. All right, last up, Guy, financial policies.
Yeah, thank you. This began in a conversation, February, at staff level. This memo is kind of been worked over, and Lorraine Trotter, your finance consultant, could not make this meeting, but she is reiterated, she's agreed with everybody that's in this document. And we're not necessarily seeking formal action, the board doesn't need to take formal action. But we'd like to run this by you as policy that we'd like to enact with the staff. The primary objectives are 3 things to handle your money. One is to ensure the city can meet its financial obligations. That is specifically payroll and accounts payable. That is where your money needs to go. Maximize returns on city funds by securing the best available interest rates, and then maintain full compliance with Colorado state statutes, specifically CRS Title 24. So the first step is account consolidation management, and this is to get rid of the accounts that you don't necessarily need. You have 8 different accounts right now, and this is to put money in places that are going to earn you more interest. So out of the 8 accounts, the accounts to keep would be the citywide operating checking account. That is your primary account for paying your bills. The second one is Evergreen National. That's your payroll account. That's where the staff payroll comes from. Then you have Colorado Trust General and the CSAFE General. Those are actually labeled different in Cassell, but there's different names in CSAFE and Colorado Trust. What we recommend to dissolve, and these are get rid of, liquidate, add them no more, transfer the money. is the citywide money market account. Money markets make money, but money markets aren't liquid. You have to wait, or you're gonna build to get your money out. You can make just as good or higher interest rates in CSAFE or Colorado Trust and not have those limitations. The express deposit account, express bill pay, you have to keep a minimum amount of money in that account per contract, but we want to keep it down to that amount instead of having more, because if we can put it in an account, we make interest. If they keep it, they make interest. The citywide petty cash checking account, you don't need a petty cash checking account. You have your operating check. And then the Colorado Trust Ramp Fund. That is in Colorado Trust right now. The concept is to be dissolved. It won't be on Casella anymore, but it's already in Colorado Trust. So that's when you're highly interested. Couple steps. One, we want to automate deposits that we get from the state and account. Automatically, by default, anything it's property taxes, HUD fund, sales tax, marijuana tax, county road and bridge, anything automatically goes to CSAFE and Colorado Trust. Again, those are your higher interest bearing. Right now, they kind of come in the hodgepodge locations. We want to standardize. They all go to the higher interest. So the second thing we're looking at is your investment strategy and your fund transfers. The whole goal is to chase interest rates. That is the whole thing we're trying to do, to chase interest rates. And I think we can get you 6-figure returns over a fiscal year. So first of all, we want to transfer funds from the dissolved accounts into longer-term investment instruments, such as CSAFE or Colorado Trust. And you're really limited under state statutes to where you can put your money. You can't put it in speculative stuff. You guys went over that when you went through the resolution. We want to monitor the express bill pay balances and transfer the excess funds to CSAFE Colorado Trust. And then we want to utilize CSAFE Colorado Trust higher interest in options, but that still allow liquidity. So the longer you keep them in there, obviously the higher interest rate you're going to get. So when we see a big chunk of property tax come in, we know we're not going to have expenditures for 6 or 8 months, we can earmark that to a higher interest rate. So it's being really actively involved in your money. And this does take a little bit of staff effort, but the payoff is there. I know I'm rushing through this. And then add the investment policy resolution. You actually did that. That was resolution 1625. And that is something that we see grants asking for. And so now we've reached that requirement. So obviously by consolidating your accounts and automating your deposits and leveraging higher yield investments, we should enhance our financial efficiency, liquidity management, and compliance, and reach those interests. So the next page, page 3, is a compare and contrast of the instruments of Colorado Trust and CSAFE. They go by names of Plus, Prime, Edge. But you can see there, the biggest advantage of these are the liquidity. So, for instance, Prime and Plus and Colorado Trust, you get it the same day as the limiting cutoff. Edge is next day. In CSAFE, the core fund is 3 redemptions a month. But there's no penalty. There's never penalty for dividend, and that's huge. Let's see, 4th page. So this is kind of what we're looking at right now. The top of the page is what your current interest rates are right now. So right now you have $181,000 sitting in your citywide operating account making 0.2% interest. Okay? So following what we put earlier in the memo, this is what it's going to look like. Your operating checking, that's going to have enough money to cover the next series of bills or the next series of payments. Okay? Sometimes those come relatively close, sometimes they're spread apart by a week. Your money market. Okay? You go beginning of the memo, we're going to dissolve the money market, we're going to put it in CSAFE. That's $500,000 that right now is making less interest and has no liquidity. What you get in Colorado Trust and CSAFE. Okay? The second one is the express deposit account. We checked on that. You have $258,000 sitting with Express Bill Pay right now. Their limit is $25,000.
No kidding.
You have $250,000, a little under $250,000 sitting there, gaining them interest. The petty cash checking, that's going to get liquidated. The Evergreen National, that is your payroll, that stays. So when we approve payroll, 3 days before payroll is due, we know how much we have to pay. That money gets transferred from higher interest instrument to payroll. When you guys approve the bills to be paid, we know how much that is. The next day, we transfer money into the account to make those payments. We're trying to keep your operating checking and your payroll checking as low as we possibly can. And it's there just to make the payments when those payments are due. The rest of the time, we're keeping the money in the
Are these
interest rate.
transfers done manually?
I'm sorry?
Are these transfers done manually?
Yes.
Okay, and you have the ability within the staff to assign this to someone, whether it's yourself or someone else, that can take on this responsibility.
It will probably be here. So, because you don't want everybody having to go.
No, I absolutely agree. What I'm asking is,
But,
we are already at a lower staff, like we have our staff has a lot of responsibility.
yes,
So I want to make sure that you feel comfortable that the staff will have, whoever it is, will have the ability to take this on because you can't screw this up.
no,
We bounce
but
the checks, it's really bad.
you have to do it 4 times and it's on the schedule. So,
Okay.
like, for instance, like I said, when you guys approve the checks tonight, tomorrow we sit with staff and go, how much is it? How much do we have?
Okay.
We look monthly or twice a month where the daily yields are on the account. Okay, let's move some around in between. Literally chasing around that much is gonna make you 6 figures in interest.
When do you think you'll be ready to roll?
So, we're ready to go there.
And when do you think we can see some results? 6 months?
Okay, this, what stuff.
And I'd like to see these numbers versus those numbers in 6 months.
Well, what you're gonna see
Is less
is
numbers.
your C-Safe, the general at 3.3 million. I guess that's up to 4 automatically when you move the $750 million over. So, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Um,
Sounds amazing.
so any questions about, this is fairly simple, and the golden rule is chasing distance. And I told you guys.
Can you take
when I-
over my banking at my house?
This will actually simplify things. It is gonna require more manual adjustments, but as Guy said, when we discussed it, it's gonna be on the schedule. Just like we have to approve timesheets every other week. This will simplify, reduce the number of accounts we have, simplify the process. You're right, you have to pay attention, but I think that's important. We already make periodic transfers between accounts from our investment funds to our operating fund, our payroll fund. So that's done, but that's kind of done as needed, as opposed to on an organized schedule to just try to keep the minimums that are needed in the various accounts. So yes, it's going to require us to be on the schedule and to monitor, but I think it's worth it.
I also like the automated deposits where everything goes to one place rather than scattered around the accounts. I like to see streamlined voting.
And it's watching the internal accounts as well. So right now, if we have something Colorado Prime at 4.23, we want to move $250,000 to Colorado Edge, which is 4.58. It's like, what the heck? Like, it's so simple on our part because there's no transfer costs. It's literally just a few keystrokes. You can make some more money.
Except the zero going from 4 to 2 or 3.
So payroll happens twice a month. It happens every other week. So you have, I think, 4 months and have 3 payrolls and that's. And then your bills are paid twice a month because they're approved by this board and the checks go out the phone.
So that is one month twice,
I'm sorry,
just twice a month,
for bills, yes.
but not.
And then you have some credit card payments that happen and stuff like that, but those are, we know how much we're spending every month.
But payroll is staying the same or? that's-
Payroll's relative, there's a little flux, you have some hourly ones, and the payrolls, we consider that the benefits.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, I know some people like expect their paychecks at certain times, and so if
None
we
of that will
mess that up,
None of that will change.
they-
No,
it impacts people.
It's all internal.
this is all behind the scenes. When our vendors receive money and when our staff receives money, will change.
All right, any further questions for Guy?
No, but I'm with you. I would like to see. We have these numbers now. I'd like to see by the end of the year, like the lower numbers.
So this is the front of every report you get monthly. This is why I took this. This is March 1st, March 31st. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Guy. Well, if there's no more questions, I would ask everybody take 5 for a comfort break, and we'll meet back here about 7:05 for our regular meeting.
I haven't heard any such either.
And I actually like when we're saying.
Yeah, you were saying.
Cooper and I just got our tickets for Shakespeare. Which one? Yes, every year. This year it's The Tempest and Richard II.
Hey, I think. Every time I see.
That's our summer. So I just saw the No, they did really well. Like, I had lunch with one and dinner with the other.
Oh, shame on me.
We just had a
I
nice
got
time,
distracted
like,
with the
they all
darn
just finished.
Lyle
He's gonna make
Woollers
this
event.
in this semester. I know, 2 semesters in a row.
Professional day on it today, and I gotta come in a little
I
early
am
tomorrow.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Grant
I knew
says
it couldn't be in there.
Oh,
but you know.
Yeah,
I
there's
was
an
like,
advocates board meeting too.
well, yeah, we also,
Yeah,
put it up
but
for
it's-
free.
Yeah, but we have a.
Education Foundation. And Mitch was. I readjusted.
So, yeah, it is a bit of a
And
lift.
I feel like it is, hey, 2 semesters of Dean's List. That would be huge. That would like. Totally take care of business. Yeah, like, I'm trying to get him out of school.
no, that would be, I mean, that would be such a amazing place to work. Is that your panel?
Yeah. So.
Is it charity?
You're right.
The best camps?
Yeah.
Maya.
The best, sir.
I'm out of ideas. So I think if I want to call the system and never.
Chuck, I know I'm silly about the ADS. Never know.
We were away last
That's-
week. It goes off like
Because
Sure.
Well,
I mean, that only helps. Yeah, or it's gonna stay, or you better, I just think that if you got, let's roll out the red carpet, then I doubt we'll have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah, I agree. No, it's, everything helps.
Like, it's never hot.
Well, you and I both.
I didn't
It's never enough, like, impact anyway. So like they open the door. Like, I saw, like, it's everything I should. I mean, it's not close to gas. I mean, they have to just sit down the gas line through so extra, so there's not even gas. And the long is. I have to, not make sense. It's not like just really things out. And then have to.
Which chair would you like?
Chair with no, I have no deal on it.
Well, like,
Green.
when you have to-
I think back surgery.
Yeah,
That's
it's gonna
gonna
be
be
like-
good.
Would you like a-
I'm not sitting in a crappy chair anymore. Yes.
Again, that.
I'm not doing it.
No.
No,
I don't know
no
if
one
this is
needs
gonna
to
fit.
sit there, because we're gonna have a wheel on it. Why is it still here?
It's almost like, is it getting crowded?
How many times have I been to the chair? A lot of times.
That'd be a new one.
I don't know if that's gonna work.
I don't care. Well, I'm gonna stand
I
until
really
you get
don't know what it does.
All right, everybody, please come on in.
Good luck, everybody. Good luck.
Can you get in?
I just took the biggest chair. Me and Chuck have the biggest chair.
I just need a phone book to sit on is all.
I think that might be a real tight chair too.
Hey, I would like to welcome everybody to the May 12th, 2025 regular meeting of Idaho Springs City Council, called to order 7:05. And I'd like to start off with roll call, please.
Kate Collier. Here. Janine Mariani. Here. Lisa Manifold. Here. Jim Clark.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones. Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Here. All please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us tonight. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Scott. And do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Lisa. Any discussion of the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? Hearing none, I will move on to the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from April 28th, 2025.
Thank you, Kate. And do I have a second? Second from Janine, thank you. And any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We have bills before us tonight. Do I have a motion on the bills?
Go ahead, Jeanine.
I'll move to approve those from 5/1/2025 to 5/15.
Thank you, Janine. And do I have a second? Second from Jeremy. Any discussion of the bills?
I'm having trouble logging on. Was there anything for S and B power wash on there? I wonder, you know?
I don't know that answer.
Hold on, I don't think so.
I'm having trouble.
Hold on, I look for it.
S&D.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that, Scott.
Okay.
But,
No,
Okay.
you're not on there.
Okay, I'm good then.
all right. Okay, well, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Then roll call, please.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Janine Mariani. Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones. Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Public comment, there's no one in the audience tonight, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't have anybody online. All right, thanks for checking, Andy. And we don't have our finance officer with us tonight. We don't have any first readings tonight, so I will move to ordinance second reading. And do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 2, series 2025. An ordinance approving the conveyance of 3 parcels in and near Virginia Canyon Mountain Park to Young Ranch LLC as approved by the city electors at the November 5th, 2024 election.
Thank you, Lisa. And do I have a second? Second from Janine. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, a roll call, please.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. City attorney's up next. Welcome. Good to have you with us, Carmen. And just wanted to see, did you have anything tonight for our regular session?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Well, thank you. City administrator. We've got your report, Andy. No request for action tonight, but just wanted to check in, make sure you didn't have anything further.
Sure, I might just mention it's a busy time of year. Things are starting to ramp up and you'll see under upcoming events in my report, we've got the a number of events you may be interested in. We've got the Lyle Woolers Law Enforcement Award Ceremony. That's tomorrow afternoon,
Yeah.
4 to 6 at the middle of high school.
Uh-huh.
We've got our retreat coming up. Council retreat
Friday
this
morning?
Friday, yep. We'll send out the agenda for that to council in advance.
And Andy, I'm sorry, I did want to just comment on the retreat. It may be open as early as 8:30, just for
Yes.
folks to come in and have breakfast, even though we're not officially starting till 9.
That's right.
Okay,
Right, and we expect to be done by 3:30. We will have lunch there. It'll be a working lunch. So, we have the city cleanup coming up, this Saturday, and the cemetery cleanup, which has become a tradition as well on Wednesday, May 21st. So, what else I want to highlight? We have a joint meeting with the fire authority coming up to hear their annual report on the 22nd. That'll be right here in this room. That'll be with the other jurisdictions in the county. And, so anyhow, a lot going on. It's getting into the summer season.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Guy, you're up next. Thank you for your staff report. Just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything further tonight.
I'm just reeling from that list.
Oh, yeah, it's quite the list. Well, thank you. Dylan, you're up next. Did you have anything further for us?
No, nothing further.
Okay, we have your report and thank you.
Can I just say thank you, Dylan, for being willing to do weekly checks and around the community? Thank you for taking the time.
Of course.
No, I
think-
appreciate that.
I know the weather wasn't cooperative. You made note of that. Did you have one or two?
Yes, I had one person attend.
Okay.
which is good.
Well, that's been kind of my record. Yeah.
We,
Mine too.
we've had impressive, I think, for given how much it's been advertised, survey response. We've had,
Oh.
since I finished that report, we've had another 4 or 5 people respond over the weekend. So we're over 30 responses in only a couple of weeks of being open, which.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm glad you brought that up. All right, very good. Thank you. Wonder anything further for us tonight?
Just that the next regular meeting, we're closed because of Memorial Day.
Oh, yeah, it's
So we'll be
Tuesday.
adjourning till Tuesday, May 27th.
Yes, no, that's always a good reminder. By the way, sales tax, down about 0.4% for the month, but still up 0.36 for the year. And I think we're all hoping for some improvement and some better months. Admittedly, it's not anywhere where we should be with when you consider inflation. But thank you for that report, Wonder. Chief, you're up next. Thank you. Wanted to see if you had anything further for us tonight.
Sorry, I didn't get the staff report.
No, it's okay.
We got a little bit busy planning for the award ceremony. It's our turn this year, so and yes, they will have those donuts.
All right, thank you.
Can't bust us
Yeah.
for speeding.
No, tomorrow, by the way, if you have not, I don't know how they do it or what kind of magic fairy dust is sprinkled on it. But the Lyle Wallers awards are tomorrow at the high school, middle school, which Andy had alluded to from 4 till 6. Last year, they had like some unbelievable donuts that I understand are making a return.
Oh, wow.
So,
I have traveled for donuts.
yeah.
Probably from Idaho, Central City.
I'm not even kidding. Absolutely. I've driven to
Or-
the
yeah.
northeast for donuts.
Or the lady, or the.
But anyways, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Public Works. And Ed, how you holding up? You doing all right?
I've got a bigger list of things to do, but I'm knocking them down as I go.
Well, thank you. We all really appreciate that.
Very
much.
We are well aware
Good
of
work.
the extra effort.
Yeah, good work on that, man. Yep. Boy, and 2 department heads, that's a big deal.
Yep. And did you have anything to share with us from either the water side or the Public Works
We
side?
did receive our
All right.
wastewater system of the year
That's all right. Oh
trophy.
my God. of the
Oh, wow,
year.
right on.
Oh my God, that's.
And it's pretty cool.
Hold on one
Heck
second.
yeah.
Way cool.
How many trophies do you have now? Like, this is
Yeah.
the first time you've brought a
Somebody said
trophy
that
here.
they tell me they brought their water from here. I was like, just one like
Right.
water guy of the year. in
How cool is
Colorado.
that?
I don't know. Who the hell do you get your water in?
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's not.
We did,
What ifs?
we moved down to the new shop. If
if you guys have noticed.
Okay.
It's pretty much, it's basically abandoned down there.
Yeah,
There's still a lot of stuff down there, but we moved down to the new shop. There were multiple concerns about the guys, about like what we do with cars and what they should do with their trucks.
yeah,
Kind of the parking's a little bit tighter and a little bit different down there. And, there were other multiple concerns about, what, you know, the trucks and what we were gonna do. So I went ahead and allowed for, and I talked over with Andy and Guy. And Andy and Guy, we all voiced our opinions and let everyone know to be conscious of this and that, you know, to be respectful. But I went ahead and allowed them to take the city trucks home if they choose to.
Living
Living in Idaho Springs.
Not outside of this.
You know, if they're
Exactly.
wrapping it up on Friday night.
I
don't think there's anything
wrong
with
that
at all. I think that's
It did seem to work out excellently when we had our little snowstorm. That they were able to jump out real quick.
yeah.
And would have just start plowing right there.
Yeah.
Very
It was like
happy.
pull out of your driveway and drop the plow and
It's actually a
go.
good idea.
Yeah,
It's a great idea.
yeah, thank you.
That was unintended.
No, but
That
it's a
happened,
good,
but
it's a good
okay.
concept.
If they live in town, I don't think that's.
Well, yeah, yeah,
As long
they
as they're
could,
keeping track of mileage.
they couldn't leave the, you know, city limits, obviously.
All right,
Right.
Ed, anything further for us?
No, thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, well, thanks again, Ed. Under the, mayor and council, I just want to echo, Wonder's comment about our next meeting. Please remember, it will not be on a Monday, it will be on a Tuesday. That's pretty rare, for us, so it will not be on the 16th, it will be on the 7th.
No,
27th.
27th.
7th.
Where are you, man?
A lot of sleep last
I
night.
won't be at that meeting unfortunately.
Okay.
I will be out of town.
Keeps us sharp.
Rafting, gates of the door.
No, well, yeah, I wish I could say it was in test, but it wasn't.
It was.
Strangers.
And, does anybody have anything further before we go into executive session? I want to make sure, there isn't anything on anybody's mind right now. Well, and it wasn't, it
We're not done yet,
absolutely
lady.
was not by design.
No, I meant the
In fact, Guy told me we would be all right to go into
My record
executive
is
session
7:23.
after 7:20, right?
23 minutes.
So, all right.
Arden is still on this meeting. She's listening, but this tell her to move over to the executive session. Sure. Now.
Yes, please do. All right, it'll take me a minute to read my spiel anyways. I would make the motion that we, move into executive session under CRS section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses E, to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations and instructing negotiators specifically concerning parking management services. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Lisa. And, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks, chief.